This is BRICS Global Television's Daily Roundup. We begin with the headlines. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa signs the National Health Insurance Bill into law. The blame game has begun in Brazil following devastating floods. Russian President Vladimir Putin in China for a 2-day visit. And in Brazil, state oil company Petrobras is looking for a new CEO. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. We begin in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the controversial National Health Insurance Bill into law. This just weeks ahead of the country's general elections set to take place on the 29th of this month. The bill is aimed at addressing healthcare disparities that have long plagued the nation. The move comes at a crucial time when statistics on medical insurance coverage reveal stark inequalities in access to healthcare amongst the population. The NHI bill aims to address these glaring disparities in healthcare access through several key provisions. Inclusive coverage. The NHI will extend coverage to all South Africans regardless of their socio-economic status or residency status, ensuring that no one is left behind. Unified funding. Under the NHI, both private and public healthcare providers will operate under a single pool of healthcare funding, streamlining administrative processes and reducing costs. Fee-free medical care. With the implementation of the NHI, individuals will no longer have to worry about medical expenses when visiting healthcare facilities, as the NHI fund will cover the costs of medical care. Equity. NHI aims to ensure that healthcare standards are equitable across the nation, narrowing disparities in access to quality healthcare. Well, despite the noble objectives of the NHI, it faces opposition from critics who are raising concerns about potential challenges such as corruption and mismanagement of funds. The main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has particularly been vocal in its opposition to the NHI bill, citing fears of the collapse of the healthcare system and the need for significant tax increases to fund the program.
There's been deliberate misinformation about what this bill seeks to do and what this bill will be able to do. This bill in its current form will not be able to bring about quality healthcare for all South Africans.
Staying in South Africa, the South African BRICS Youth Associations brought together young people from BRICS Plus countries to empower them and provide a platform for the sharing of their innovations with business leaders, investors, partners and experts from across BRICS Plus countries and the Global South. The theme for this year's summit is Innovate to Empower, Building Futures, Transforming Societies. BGTN's Inga Mzileni was there and filed this report.
The summit was hosted in collaboration with the Innovation Hub, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, NYDA, to name a few.
And one of the programs that came out of many of our events is the BRICS Skills Plus certificate, which will be offered with 3 universities in South Africa. The second one is around the BRICS Youth Young Innovators and Young Entrepreneurs Forum, where we bring in businesses and innovators as well as investors in one room.
The young people presented their projects in the fields of digital transformation and industry, sustainable development and green innovation, exploring innovations in healthcare, biotechnology and digital health that contribute to improved well-being in healthcare systems. They discussed the role of technology in transforming education.
GCMP Tech is an application on your phone that when you press the SOS button, it enables your location and then opens a mic, which gives you communication to the EMS team. Our solution minimizes human error and maximizes the response effort of the EMS team or anybody who could be responding to your crisis.
Are these summits useful for the youth?
Definitely these platforms are important. What I just want to encourage is that let us not make them talk shops. Let's make them implementable and practical. You might be aware that we have Agenda 2063, which is the Africa that we want. And the Africa that we want is only possible when platforms like these are taken seriously and there's integration.
This is a platform for young people to showcase their innovations and network with potential investors from BRICS countries. And judging by the group of young people present here today, there's growing progress in the areas of tech development and renewable energy solutions. Ingam Sileni, BRICS Global Television Network, Pretoria, South Africa.
To Brazil now, following weeks of heavy rainfall and subsequent flooding and landslides. The blame game has begun. At least 147 people have lost their lives, 800 have been injured and more than 100 are reported missing. Search and rescue efforts continue as floodwaters slowly start to recede. Several environmentalists are blaming Brazilian Congress as environmental policies have been curbed. BGTN's Brazil correspondent Chris Goldenbaum finds out more.
In Brazil, in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, the federal government, several non-profit institutions, and the whole population are joining forces to help victims of the recent floods. Hundreds of tons of donations are being sent to the affected areas and tens of millions of dollars have been donated. However, while the whole country is taking part in this damage control task, environmentalists are debating what could have been done to prevent the catastrophe from occurring in the first place. Most agree that Congress is to blame for weakening environmental protection laws over the past decade. Márcio Astrini has worked at Greenpeace for 13 years and now heads the think tank Climate Observatory.
Government officials first need to believe that the problem exists and is akin to a disease. If you have a disease and you're diagnosed with it, but you don't believe it's going to cause you harm, you don't take it seriously, you don't take any action. This is the first factor that needs to happen. The government doesn't take the climate issue seriously until a catastrophe happens. A lot could be done here. One of them is to talk to the population to say, look, you who live there, you're in an area at risk of flooding.
To prevent catastrophes like the current one, besides weather prediction, engineering techniques can be used. This includes man-made engineering, such as building infrastructure to control river water flow and ensure that flood water drains quickly to enable fast evacuations. It also involves natural engineering, like restoring vegetation that has been destroyed. For instance, re-establishing riparian forests along rivers can help prevent excessive flooding and erosion.
Brazil has mapped around 1,000 locations which are places which have some degree of risk to climate change, to extreme events. The government needs to take these areas, look at them, see what needs to be done there, where we can have engineering work, what needs to be done, how much resources are needed, how long it will take, which population will be assisted. If there are areas, for example, where you have no solution and this has to be considered, then what is the evacuation plan for these areas? These locations that are at extreme risk need to have a plan and a specific plan for each one according to their vulnerability. The last stage is the loss and damage stage. This is the stage when you have the catastrophe, like what is happening here, the collapse of a region, which is exactly what we are seeing in Rio Grande do Sul right now.
Once the flood waters recede and residents safely return home, there is an opportunity for new thinking and planning of environmental legislation in the Brazilian Congress.
As people actively strive to combat the damage caused by the floods, Brazilian environmentalists are hoping that the authorities' inaction will be recognized as one of the main causes of climate disasters. This could inject new life into the debate. Chris Goldenbaum, BGTN, São Paulo, Brazil.
The highly anticipated visit of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to Pakistan has been postponed indefinitely, with reasons remaining undisclosed. The visit, originally slated to coincide with or follow the Crown Prince's official trip to Japan from May the 20th to May the 23rd, has been deferred until mutually convenient dates can be arranged. Speculation swirls around the postponement against the backdrop of ongoing political, social, financial and administrative crises within Pakistan. Sources suggest potential dissatisfaction from the Crown Prince following statements made by certain Pakistani politicians attempting to involve Saudi Arabia in the nation's internal affairs. Efforts to reschedule the visit are underway, with details to be disclosed once finalized. Itinerary is agreed upon by Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Diplomatic channels remain active as the two nations strive to coordinate the visit at the earliest possible opportunity. And in China, there have been several sightings of wild giant panda mothers and their cubs in national reserves in western parts of the country over the past 2 months, creating much excitement. The sightings point to a growing population of the rare species. In early April, a cub around 8 months old and its mother were spotted in the Giant Panda National Park in southwest China's Sichuan province. Cameras captured the two climbing in trees before heading off into the dense bamboo forest the following day. Experts believe there are up to 4 mothers and cubs in the area. Typically, a giant panda mother will raise her cub and teach it survival skills on her own, and the cub will follow its mother for 1.5 to 2.5 years after birth. The Changqing National Nature Reserve in Shaanxi Province infrared cameras captured other panda mothers and their babies as they roamed the valley in March and April. The recent sightings indicate the ecological environment in the area is improving as the giant panda population in the wild continues to grow. Coming up, BRICS Business.
18 Gangster Museum and Township Tours takes us on a transformative journey alongside reformed gangsters, showcasing the remarkable evolution from purveyors of drugs and violence to architects of captivating tourist attraction.
We're primarily focused on alleviating gangsterism, so we take people around the townships.
In BRICS Business News, Russian President Vladimir Putin's in China for the next 2 days, where he's meeting with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. The two leaders will discuss trade relations. China's growing increasingly worried about possible secondary sanctions stemming from Russia's war with Ukraine. In recent months, trade between the two countries has been under strain as Chinese banks implement stringent checks and balances on companies doing business with Russia. This has slowed down transactions and some small businesses have shut their doors. But Xi, who's recently returned from a 3-nation tour of Europe, remains defiant in the face of criticism around his relationship with Moscow. China's been cashing in on cheap Russian energy imports as well as steady gas shipments via the Power-Siberian pipeline. Trade between China and Russia hit $240 billion in 2023. That's according to Chinese customs figures. The Kremlin says the two leaders will discuss their comprehensive partnership and strategic cooperation and would also define key areas of development of Russian-Chinese cooperation and exchange views on international and regional issues. Putin will also attend an event marking 75 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. In Brazil, state oil company Petrobras is looking for a new CEO. That's after the presidency announced on Tuesday that Jean Paul Prates, a former state senator and ally of Brazilian President Lula da Silva, had been dismissed. A possible favorite to take the reins may be Magda Chabriard, the former head of Brazil's oil industry regulator. There have been tensions between Petrobras and shareholders over dividend payments recently, fueling concerns about government's influence over the publicly traded company's decision-making process. Prates was appointed last January by the Petrobras Board of Directors, soon after Lula was sworn in for a 3rd term. Prachi's previously served as a senator and was a member of Lula's Workers' Party. Lula nominated him for the job, describing him as a specialist in the energy sector. He also said Prachi's had 30 years of experience in the oil, natural gas, biofuels and renewable energy sectors. In recent months, the 55-year-old has faced fierce criticism over the dividends issues. Petrobras announced it would not pay an extraordinary dividend to investors following its second highest net profit ever last year. The share price plummeted as analysts and opponents accused government of direct intervention. And at the time, Prachi's tweeted that it was legitimate for the board to take a position guided by the president and his ministers, and added that is exactly what happened in relation to the dividend decision. The dividend was eventually approved by Petrobras in April. This is not the first time the company's experienced turbulent times, though. During Jair Bolsonaro's presidency, Petrobras came under fire for its pricing policies. It was during this time that 4 CEOs came and went in quick succession. Iran has expanded relations with India within BRICS Plus and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization formats. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian has made the announcement following a meeting with Indian Minister for Port Infrastructure, Shipping and Inland Waterways Development, Sarbananda Sonowal. India and Iran have signed a 10-year contract to develop and operate the Iranian port of Chabahar, which New Delhi envisages as a strategic trade route to landlocked Central Asian republics, allowing it to bypass rival Pakistan. India said the deal has unlocked new avenues for trade, but the United States, whose ties with Iran have worsened, has warned of the potential risk of sanctions on anyone considering business deals with Tehran. After India and Iran signed the 10-year deal, the U.S. State Department said that U.S. sanctions on Iran remain in place and that Washington will continue to enforce them. Analysts in New Delhi say the threat of sanctions could dampen hopes of turning the port into a trading hub. The agreement was signed earlier this week in Iran's Chabahar town by India's shipping minister Sarbananda Sonowal and Iran's urban development minister Mehrdad Bazarpash. Well, in just a bit, Yolanda Pondo brings you the latest BRICS sports news.
Round 3. Let's go. Right hand on 3 for Supra.
Hello, I'm Yolanda Pondo. Excitement is building ahead of this weekend's heavyweight world title fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. The two will face off against each other on Saturday in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The fight was supposed to take place in February but was postponed after Fury suffered a serious cut during a sparring session. Ahead of the fight, Fury says, "The truth is, it's exciting to me and attractive because of the amount of money I'm getting paid." He added that it's not about the belts on the line. There are reports that Fury could take home in excess of $100 million. Usyk holds the WBA, WBO, IBF and IBO belts, while Fury has held the WBC title since 2020. Although the Gypsy King says it's all about the money and has downplayed the belts, he knows full well what the fight really means. And that's a place among the very greats of boxing history. Going all the way back to Jack Dempsey in the 1920s, only 23 fighters can claim that place in the pantheon. These include Joey Louise, Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. But it's been 25 years since it was last achieved. That's when British boxer Lennox Lewis defeated Evander Holyfield in 1999. Negotiations between the PGA Tour and the Saudi backers of Live Golf have progressed, but according to Tiger Woods, a deal remains a long way off. Ahead of the 106th PGA Championship, which starts today, Woods provided some details about the talks, which have been ongoing for almost a year. He is one of the negotiators taking part in the merger talks. He said, "Fans are probably as tired as we are of the talk not being about the game of golf and about not being about the players. The fans just want to see us play together. How we get there is to be determined." He revealed that negotiations continue, but they may change from day to day. However, they appear to be moving forward slowly but surely. His update came a day after Jimmy Dunn resigned from the PGA Policy Board. There are reports that Dunn was frustrated by the slow pace of the talks. The deadline was set for December, but months on, an agreement has yet to be reached. Woods appears to have a more positive outlook, saying, "How we get there, that's to be determined. But the fact that we are in this fight together to make golf better is what it's all about." That's your BRICS Sports News for now. For the latest updates, check out our social media and website.
Well, here we have it. Time to turn things around. You caught the taxi and watched the money drain out of your account. Now we're going to pay you if you are lucky enough to catch our taxi. Small problem. You've got to know a few things about bricks. No, not the stuff you build your house with. Welcome to the Bricks on Wheels show.
As any parent of an autistic child knows, bringing up a child with special needs comes with its challenges. But one family decided to make a difference by opening a school to care for them. Take a look.
Over 75 million people in the world are currently diagnosed with autism, a developmental disorder that affects the nervous system, resulting in difficulties with communication and interaction.
And that's why they love me, because I'm one of a kind. There's no one like me in the world. There's no one like me in space. There's no one like me wherever. No one. Just one Troy Williams. Just one Troy Bolton.
In a society where people with autism may feel disorientated because of their unique ways of interacting with the world, support is offered through initiatives that empower and destigmatize autism spectrum disorder. Alison Macheta established the Luca Support and Care Center to provide education to special needs children from birth to 21 years. The school is named after her young boy Lucas, who spent the first 5 months of his life in ICU.
They never expected him to survive. We didn't know what was wrong with him. And the most difficult thing is that when he left hospital, we started our therapy. He was 6 months old when he came home. And I was in corporate working long hours. It was my 4th little child. And I couldn't find the right centre for him. He had so many different kinds of special needs. He was deaf. It's difficult, specifically, I think, in this country where there's no inclusive education. And what we've tried to do here at Luca is to be able to support all kinds of children with different challenges. And it's very exciting to watch the children interact. So it's not just a school for autistic learners, but the autistic learners are integrated with speaking children and verbal children. So they learn from each other.
The parent of one of the children who attends the Luca Support and Care Center says her relationship with her child has improved. She says the center offers hope to parents who battle to take care of children with autism.
Emotionally, even, it's just so difficult to not be able to understand what's happening to your child. And then besides that, also just for us, we didn't know what autism is. We didn't know what it was. I had never really heard about it until it happened to my son. It's taken a lot to actually come to a place where I can talk about it without crying. I am comforted by God, ultimately. I have a relationship with God. You know, I have faith in Jesus, and I know that He heals. So I know that, you know, He's helping us through this process. And even with our little one, He knows best because He created him for a reason.
Parents of autistic children find comfort in knowing that their children are in an environment where they're understood and well taken care of.
And I have a lot of girlfriends in Westbury, but I'm so scared to go back to Westbury because I'm afraid those girlfriends will hunt me down.
We'll be back tomorrow with more BRICS stories. Until then, check out our website and social media for the latest updates.